Hey there, StarCraft fans! It's Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another edition of StarCraft Brood War Remastered. Today it's going to be a game between Flash and Bisu here on Neo Jade. This is from their final series from the 2016 Sino-Korean Carnival. Very excited to bring you this. Top right hand corner, it is the purple Protoss player. You know him and love him as Bisu. Bottom left hand corner, the orange Terran player. You know him as Flash. That's really all you need to know. It's Flash, widely regarded as the best StarCraft player of all time. Are people going to argue that? Are people going to argue that Flash isn't the best player of all time? Now, keep in mind, this is from the 2016 Sino-Korean Carnival, okay? So this is a long time after Brood War was released. Brood War came out in 1998. This is almost 20 years later. They are playing StarCraft Brood War at a high level against each other. This is not peak Flash. This is not peak Bisu. This is them a little bit older, a little bit wiser, maybe a little bit slower in certain aspects than they were back in the early 2000s and the mid 2000s when they really made their names, really turned StarCraft into the first true esport. Right? These were the pioneers that brought StarCraft to the forefront of the esports movement, which didn't even really exist until StarCraft became a thing, which Blizzard is very surprised about. I actually read a really great article about the 20th anniversary of StarCraft, and it discussed how Blizzard was entirely taken by surprise at the success of StarCraft in Korea when it was released out there, and how it turned into an esport they had no control over at all. And so when StarCraft 2 came out, they really wanted to make it something that they could control, which is basically why you can't just do straight LAN games in StarCraft anymore. StarCraft 2, you can't do it. It has to go through the Blizzard servers just so they control things like hacking and quality control on their own tournaments. They really had no way to handle that back in StarCraft 1. I remember I played the ladder a little bit in the Brood War, but it was so filled with hackers. The first few pages of the ladder that I played on was just filled with players with 9,999 and 0 records, which was hilarious, and it just meant you couldn't climb the ladder in any appreciable way. People were map hacking, people were just straight up winning using hacks, and it wasn't a very fun thing. I mainly just played with friends in those Brood War days, but really fun time for sure. Did love the Brood War, and I'm kind of glad they fixed the ladder for StarCraft 2. I was part of those people that complained when StarCraft 2 came out and you couldn't do LAN play. I was definitely there. I was there at the time complaining, but I get it. I get why they did it, and I am glad that the StarCraft 2 competitive scene is pretty much free of hacking and things like that. It is. I mean, there are some hackers, but they've done a great job discovering the hackers and just doing waves of bans time after time. And at this point, if you're hacking in StarCraft, what are you doing? You're going to get banned. It's a bad thing. That said, it is free to play now. You can kind of just make a new account, which I did not say that. I did not suggest ways you could circumvent anything that Blizzard does. Anyway, back to this game. Let's discuss this one. It is purple. It is orange. I love that it's purple and orange instead of red versus blue. That is one thing I love about Brood War, is the different color schemes you see. Marine production has begun. We're going to go for some tanks here, too. It's just Flash knows. You have to go mech versus Protoss. They can handle bio exceptionally well. So it's going to be mech, right? You clicked on this. You know Flash versus Bisu is mech versus Dragoons versus Reavers versus Zealots and Archons and things like that. So we'll see how Bisu can handle this here against Flash. Again, a terrifying Terran player in his own right, but at this point, for Bisu, doesn't he just kind of have to feel like coming home? I played against this guy 800 million times. I know his tendencies. I know what he's capable of doing. I can't really be caught by surprise anymore by anything that Flash does, I don't think. And here comes a little bit of a Dragoon Zealot pressure, which takes me back to the early days of Brood War for sure. This was very, very common back in the early to mid 2000s, was to just bring a Zealot and a Dragoon over and maybe get a quick shuttle out too, and then just have these tiny micro battles in the middle of the map here. But I think the Marine count is steadily increasing. Defender's advantage is kicking in for Flash, and eventually the Marine count will be so high that the Dragoon won't be able to do anything, and the Zealot's pretty much useless too. I mean, the Zealot is just here for tanking. And now there's a tank out. Speaking of tanking, surprise! A tank's out. Doesn't have siege mode yet, but it doesn't matter. It still does so much work. Zealot gets a couple Marines, knows he's going to die anyway. He can't run from this. Marine count getting kind of moved down here too. And the Dragoon's pulling back, recognizing, okay, this is a little bit scary here. Tank hasn't taken any damage to this point, and now the Spider Mines are out. Spider-Man researched first by Flash, and Bisu used the time to expand. He's expanding behind it here, but guess what? Command Center on the way too for Flash at about the same time. Barracks settling here at the front because it is the least important building at this stage, as we're just going to make factories all the livelong day for Flash from this point on. Robotics facility, remember what I said about shuttles? Shuttles can be used to great effect here in the early game, and the mid and the late game too. Reaver drops can be very devastating against a player who is not well prepared for them. Flash will be prepared for them. The question is, how much damage can the Reavers do? I don't know. Possibly Storm Drops. Storm Drops also very good. It just depends on what tech we see coming up next here from Bisu. And if the game goes on long enough, you can pretty much do both. No big deal. Oh, yeah, okay. You can't. Ow! Oh, did you take that shot? Took the shot. Dragoon took the Spider-Man shot to the face. But it's not what you want to do. It hurts, man. It hurts quite a bit. Brings those shields right down and does splash damage to your neighbors, too. Third base under construction here for Flash. His natural isn't even done yet. And he's going third base down here at the 6 o'clock position. Just so confident. So confident here. Dragoon's going to be the order of the day, and Reaver production has already begun for Bisu. Already into that Reaver stuff. There it is. Robotic support bay is what you need. And then you can make these Reavers. They hit real hard, but boy, it is expensive to make those Scarabs over time. It's not super expensive, you get what I'm saying, but can be problematic. What is this probe doing? Huh. I guess probe was coming back from building something, and somehow this vulture wandered right in. Yeah! Did he miss that time? No, I think he took a hit there again, too. Vulture is finally picked off after doing a tiny bit of harassment, but not really enough to slow down or wreck Bisu in any sense of the word. 0%. 0% sense of the word. First Reaver out, 6.5 minutes. Dang. Are your Reaver timing 6.5 minutes, Protoss players? I don't think they are. I'm fairly certain that they are not. A couple Spider-Mines at this third base location for Bisu. You'll notice the probe doesn't trigger it because it hovers. Workers do not trigger Spider-Mines because they float. At least the probes do. That is the answer for that. Are you actually building? Okay, that's a missile turret. Missile turret coming up at the front. I was wondering what that would be. And a Terran factory on the way here too. See, 3 bases running, already being mined from for Flash. This economic advantage is going to be big time killer for Bisu if he doesn't do something about it very quickly. A Reaver drop would be a great way to even this up, but not quite. Oh, here it is. Definitely here. All right, so Shuttle takes a couple. Okay, Shuttle, don't die. Shuttle's dead. Reaver forced to land and get a shot or two off. Oh, no. That went really poorly for Bisu. This missile turret placement was absolutely wonderful from Flash. And then the tanks were ready, and the shuttle died, and Reaver came out and hit something. Maybe killed a Marine or two, possibly, if we were being generous. And no, not good. Not good at all. Flash's income is going to be through the roof at this stage. Comparatively, there's a third Nexus warping in for Bisu, but to this point, it's not even close to being done yet. So during this whole time, Flash's income is going to be very nice. Gateway. It's just going to be mass gateway for Bisu. We know that. That's all he can really do. Dragoons are the backbone of his army right now. Vulture's in production, creating yet another factory up here inside his main base. His Flash APM for these players, well over 300. They are playing this as fast as you can play the StarCraft Brood War. Are there many players that can play faster than Flash? I don't know. I don't think there are. Just an appropriate name that he gave himself way back in the day. Many years ago. Observer checking out the Spider-Mine collection here. Observer trying to sneak in through the missile turrets. Nope. The placement of the missile turrets is perfect. Perfect so that no observer can sneak through here. He doesn't want an observer coming in at all, which is a little bit odd because it's not like Flash is hiding what he's doing. It's mech. He's making more factories. I don't get it. That's a fleet beacon from Bisu coming up. Where is that sucker? There's your fleet beacon and a Stargate. Here at the 9-minute mark, so sub 10 minute. He went Reaver drop. He's got Stargates on the way. He's got a fleet beacon done at 9 minutes and 13 seconds. And let the carriers begin. Let the carrier commence. Now, carrier might actually catch Flash by surprise here. I would not be shocked if it did. He's preparing for Dragoons, which is what the tanks are for. Preparing for Zealots, which is what the Vultures are for. I don't think... Does he have any reason to go for anti-air right now? Wraiths are a good answer to carriers. Goliaths are a decent answer to carriers, especially early on, but I don't see that production tab switching. I don't see it switching over to Goliath. And that's the thing, is that a meching Terran can respond to a carrier tech switch pretty easily, especially early on with those Goliaths. He already has the factories. He just starts making those instead of tanks from this point, and he's going to be okay. making raids a little bit more difficult, as I think there is a single starport out for Flash. There's a starport. Well, there's a starport now. That might be his first one, actually. And based on this quick scan of his base, it is. So yeah, one starport. Hard to pump out enough raids to deal with these carriers in that situation. So this, once again, might be Flash trying to sneak something up here. Flash might be suspicious because usually Dragoons are pushing out, clearing out minefields, trying to expand into the top left here, which is what these Dragoons are. But there's only 5 of them. Yep, 5 of them. It's not a huge group of Dragoons like you'd have if you were going Dragoons into the mid-game here. That might be enough to clue Flash in, but I'm not convinced he's going to see it. At least not for a couple minutes here. Again, I'm not going to count Flash out. He can scan, is the other thing. He can scan the tech and see exactly what's going on. Trying to hide the carriers kind of in a weird place. The scan will hit here, not necessarily up in this location. That's where the fleet beacon's on this left side too. He's just hoping the scans don't reveal these guys. I'm hearing scans, but I'm not seeing them here, is the deal. Flash's production tab will tell us what's going on. He's still making vultures. If you think your opponent's going to tech switch to carrier, vulture is not what you keep making here. I believe Flash is being tricked. I believe he's being exceptionally tricked. Let's see if he can tech switch fast enough when these carriers show up. And once again, the number of factories he has, you can make Goliath straight up, no big deal. But raids are a little bit more difficult. These probes are trying to transfer. Vultures found them real fast, picking off several before the Dragoons get their revenge. And the vultures are forced to retreat. Carriers coming up this left side, and they're going to head down to the south. You got to get this damage in early. Got to get it in early. The element of surprise is key with these carriers. You might want to wait for a couple more. 2 carriers can't do all that much damage. But 4 carriers, that's when you start talking. That's when you start talking here about carriers really wrecking your day. A tank tried to come up to its left side. Dragoons absolutely destroyed him. No big deal. Vulture's trying to do a bit of a run by here, trying to just straight up win against these Dragoons, which they can do in certain numbers, but more Dragoons and Zealots showing up. Also recognizing these Zealots don't have legs. Zealots don't have legs, which means Bisu's not investing in those right now. He's not investing in the Zealots, which he would be if he was going Dragoon Zealot. So here we go. Surprise! Surprise carriers in 12 minutes! Your barracks is gonna die! Okay, so Charon Booster on the way. 6 Goliaths at a time on the way. Yep, Flash knows. Flash knows now. The first group of Goliaths are popping right now, coming out of these factories. We see them with their terrible pathing and their funny walking style. And now the carriers are here. All right, so in the past, we have seen people attempt carrier against Terran, and it doesn't go very well for them. I'm thinking specifically a best versus light game that I cast. Who else tried to go carrier? Somebody tried to go carrier against Flash, I believe. And it didn't go well for them then either. So we'll see. We'll see who comes out on top. That's why I cast these games. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win them. I don't watch them in advance. Carriers helping pick out the spider mines. Very good at clearing spider mine field. Ooh, the vultures sneaking up this way, though. And Zealots enough to maybe hold these guys off. Carrier swinging down damage from above, too. The vultures are here to buy time more than anything else right now and force the carriers back. If the carriers aren't at the front of Flash, he's happy. And the vultures did that. They pulled the army back. Army now coming back on in, but they bought some serious time for Flash to continue making Goliaths. And still no Wraiths at all. He feels pretty content with the Goliath. Every time I see somebody go carrier against Terran, the comments are filled with, where are the Wraith groups? Why are there not Wraiths chasing down carriers that are retreating? I don't know. Ask Flash about that. I'm going to zoom out, see this engagement coming in, and yeah, there are enough vultures here that the Zealots are not super viable. Observer scanned and picked off by our Goliath group with the blue clouds trailing after their missiles, which I like very, very much. A bit of a tank drop here in the top left. And a Zealot taking down an SCV, building a base in the bottom right here for Flash, too. So both players harassing in opposite corners and trying to engage in the front a little bit at the very least. And Zealots getting picked off by Vultures again. Vultures with their concussive damage. Real great against Zealots, no question about it. This tank has 3 kills, and the Zealot's going to force him to die. Wasn't there a dropship here? I think a dropship brought him in. Don't know where he is, though. And that's fine. It's 199 to 186 supply. Flash is maxed out at 14 minutes. And he's pushing. He's pushing on Bisu here. He says, you know what? Carriers can't engage with this army. I have enough missile turrets and Goliaths back home. I can slow it down. I'm going to win this base race. How about that? He's pushing right on in the front door of Bisu. From the backside, though... Oh, no, actually not. Carriers, okay, carriers taking the shortcut. As the crow flies, they're flying on in. And killing his, oh yeah, killing his own pylon, because that's blocking Dragoons from getting out here. And here's our Goliath versus carrier engagement. You'll notice the carriers are directly engaging with the Goliaths. The Goliaths are somewhat getting some shots off on the body of the carrier here. But also their targeting is getting confused and trying to target the interceptors as well, which is just not as good of a strategy. As it turns out, Zealot's trying to walk on top of these tanks and clear them out. How's our interceptor count looking? It doesn't look super healthy. But these tanks don't have any Goliaths protecting them. Only 5 of them, and the Goliaths are not target firing the carriers either. Slowly whittling down that Goliath number. The tanks are trying to finish off that Nexus before the carriers get rid of them. I think the tanks are going to win that thing. The damage is just too great. The damage output is just too great there. Suddenly, 167 and 151 supply. A Dark Templar's in. I'm hearing it. I was hearing a Dark Templar. There are Dark Templar in production here. 4 of them at a time. Just because science vessels aren't viable here because the carriers will pick them off from distance. Dark Templar is a little bit better here. You just have to continually scan, and you don't have energy to infinitely scan here, is the thing. And suddenly, Flash, retreating with his tail between his legs, only has a Goliath and a tank remaining here. There are still some Widow Mines up north, which are freaking me out. I keep thinking that's a drop, but it's not. Just had to check for sure here. +2 attack and +1 armor on those tanks, and +1 shields for Bisu, which makes sense. He's going ground and sky, and shield is the upgrade that is shared among everybody. Here we go. Shuttle coming in with 4 Goliaths. Zealot trying to handle this. Goliath's surprisingly good against cannons. Look at that. Look at that. I guess they have the +2 attack, which is pretty darn useful. Engagement in the middle. Ooh, that carrier. I don't know where it was going, but it's dead now. The big part of the carrier group is in the top left, picking off that dropship before it can escape, and then killing all of these Goliaths. Yeah, these Dragoons trying to live, but the vast majority of the mech army for Flash is here. And they will chase you down, and they will kill you. Do we have Archons yet? You're working on Archons, Bisu, for the recalls and whatnot? No, I don't see it. Don't see an Orbital Tribunal. To be fair, he had a mech army on his front doorstep a couple minutes ago. So maybe teching to Arbiters is not necessarily in the cards right now. Carrier group, 3 kills, 7 kills, 8 kills, 2 kills, 6 kills. Doing okay for themselves. Not doing fantastically, but doing okay for themselves. Vultures, run! Get out of here. Are the spider mines getting targeted? Yeah, there's an observer around here somewhere. Oh, these vultures took the wrong path. Yeah, vultures down. I'm not going to say they're free for Flash, but they're mineral dumps for Flash. Vulture in here trying to do stuff in the third base of Bisu, killed by Dark DTs, which is kind of fun. I do love seeing Dark Templar in the Brood War. Just that sound of the Warp Blade is just really nostalgic. And that's what it is, right? Yep, Warp Blades. 40 damage per shot. Slow attack speed, but still. Wop, wop. Taking some Spider Mine shots, which is real bad for them. They don't have a lot of HP. Wop, wop. Goodbye, Vulture. Wop, wop. Oh, there's a scan, and now they're dead. Yeah, they're flimsy. That permanent cloak comes with a cost, man. They are flimsy. How many carriers do we have? 8 of them. 8 of them here. Not too shabby. Do we have any attack upgrades? Is that +3 on the interceptors? By golly. Does he have +3 air weapons? I think he does. I feel like he does. Anyway, we'll see. We will have to wait and see here. So carrier versus Goliath. Just dancing, doing the traditional dance of the people. Which is Terran versus Protoss. Got a big line of Goliaths trying to join this party here. And it's more of a stalemate than you would think here. You think the Goliaths, with their super long-range missiles that do a lot of damage, would win this thing, but not necessarily. Carrier control is really important. Vultures got into the third base of Bisu, and all these probes are going to die. I mean, maybe not all of them, but a lot. A lot of probes died there. 176 to 164 supply. Bisu's down, but not by a whole lot. Has he lost any carriers yet? I'm not convinced. Oh, the one. There was the one in the middle of the map that was trying to join its friends and got surrounded by the school bullies and destroyed. So that one died. But as far as the carrier group is concerned, I don't think so. I think these 8 carriers have been doing it. Storm on the way, 3 carriers at a time being produced. Thank you to the person who suggested I control-click to select similar units of the same type. That works. It works in-game and it works in the replay interface too. Fair enough. Archon getting in here. I mean, Archon, great against Goliaths, maybe? At the very least, it can absorb damage from Goliaths that are intended for the carriers, and I suppose that's enough. Suppose that's quite enough. Another attack coming in. Carriers trying to pick off Goliaths. Tanks making sure the ground army is not doing anything for Bisu. It's not a whole ton of tanks anymore. It's just mainly Goliaths with some tanks sprinkled in. Are you still run buying here? By golly, Flash. Leave the probes alone. Ooh, ooh. Gotta kill before he's destroyed Mr. Vulture. Mr. Vulture friend. Man, I love that animation. I know I say it every time, but I do. I really do love that animation. The missiles flying off the Goliaths super far away. Pew, 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 pew. Tanks perfectly placed as usual, +3 attacks on those guys. Just making sure Dragoons and Dark Templar and Archons don't do a lot in this battle. They want the carriers to stand alone. Holy surround, Batman. I mean, sometimes you just kind of gotta let the beauty of the game stand for itself a little bit. That was amazing. That was just an amazing sight to see there. I don't think anybody won. Again, it feels like a stalemate. Any of these carriers die? No, there's more now. There's the 8 and then the 3 more that he did make. He is down 138 to 160. Lost a lot of Dragoons, as we can see the blood down there. Lost some Archons and some Zealots. But the carriers have been effectively untouched, is the thing. Look at their health here. They're all green. All greens across the board. Missile turrets trying to do stuff, but just getting absolutely wasted. Thing about buildings is static defense, they don't benefit from upgrades over time. So they will become less and less useful. A brilliant decision by Blizzard when they coded StarCraft is that static defense does not benefit from upgrades. With the exception of Protoss buildings that do benefit from shield upgrades, but it's kind of negligible. So based on the bottom right here for Flash, it's absolutely killed for free. Bisu loses nothing to take that down. The Goliaths couldn't quite get in a position to save it here. And look at this area. Where did the Goliaths go? Oh, they're heading out. They going for a base race? I know I said that earlier, but this feels more like a base race situation now than it did before. The thing is, carrier DPS is kind of insane. They will overkill single targets. You'll notice that a lot of these interceptors are attacking a single Goliath, just swarming on him. And that's overkill. If all those interceptors try to kill a single Goliath, that's a lot of wasted damage, which I think is why Bisu is not quite target firing here, letting the interceptors do their thing and just killing stuff over time. Meanwhile, there's really no opposition to Flash's move up this direction here. Is this the right speed? No, that's too slow. This is the right speed. Okay, I accidentally slowed it down. We're back. We are back. Storm trying to defend against a mech army coming into the third base of Bisu. This third base has been set upon this entire game and is absolutely going to die. Are you bringing the carriers home? I mean, wiping out this base economically, these 2 bases economically of Flashes was very good for you, Bisu. I'm not going to argue with that, but losing your natural, losing your third, unquestionably, you do have 2 bases in the top left that are running, which is really, really useful. And it is 157 and 125 supply. Flash is up, but the carriers have been fairly unopposed. Some of them did take some hull damage here, some yellows and some reds mixed in on 3 of these guys, but the vast majority... Ooh, there we go. There's that target firing on the Goliaths. From a certain distance, they can do it. Zealot hit something. Oh, Zealot's getting right into the mix. Dude, what are you... Surrounded and picked off by Goliaths. More DTs just trying to do stuff, forcing scans in places that Flash doesn't want to scan. So I believe what that is. Long distance mining is Flash pushing up the left side here. Flash goes. Carriers flanking. You know, he's not A-moving here. Bisu's controlling his carriers, trying to keep them at the optimal distance from these Goliaths where he doesn't take damage. Great storm defense on these tanks, weakening them, making them easier for the interceptors to pull them off here. Storm will hurt them, though, so be careful with that. Just more blue everywhere. Interceptors, Charon boosters. Who's winning this battle? Goliaths are dying. How are the carrier groups looking? Okay. Fairly healthy here, too. None of them have died yet. None of them, I don't think, are all that close to dying. Goliath count is down to, not really down to, about 8 or 9 or 10. Based on that number. But again, the carriers just aren't really dying. It's very slow and steady going here. Flash is making 6 at a time. Oh, but Flash leaves the game at 24 minutes and 21 seconds. Bisu manages to hold on, finally leaves the game himself, and wins this game of the finals from the 2016 Sino-Korean Carnival. Holy moly. What a win there. And really, I think it just came down to the fact that he didn't lose a carrier. He lost one carrier he was a little bit careless with. Everybody else lived. I mean, Flash was long-distance mining from this base, but not for long. He had this mining base, and this mining base was out, as we can see. Trying to kind of expand up this direction, but not going to happen either. His Goliath count was suffering. He could only make 6 Goliaths at a time. 6 Goliaths versus 11 carriers is never going to end well for the Goliaths. And so, yeah, these two bases are happily fairly mining. Did take some damage up here to Bisu, but Bisu took the win. That might be the first time Bisu has beat Flash on the channel, you guys. Pretty certain that's the case. So, rejoice! Rejoice. All right. That is going to be it from me. Let's go ahead and check the final score, though. I almost forgot to do that. I almost signed off without doing this thing. Whoop. Units produced fairly even, 476 to 422. Killed 292 to 330. Again, even, losing about 300 there, too. Resources, Bisu has the edge across the board. Again, resources hugely important in a game that is decided as close as this was. 14 to 13, Bisu. 40 to 39 minerals mined, Bisu. 53 to 52 spent, Bisu. So just tiny edge, tiny edge. Flash's APM 359 throughout the game, 330 for Bisu. Tiny bit of an edge there for Flash, but APM is not everything, as it turns out. What a display. Carriers beat Terran, and Bisu beats Flash. Who saw that coming? I am not convinced that I did. All right, well, that is going to be it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin with yet another StarCraft Remastered Brood War upload. StarCraft Brood War Remastered, that's what it is. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon, all at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.